The grand chamber stretched beyond what human eyes could fully comprehend. Crystalline walls curved upward into infinity, glowing with soft blue light that came from no visible source. The floor beneath their feet was transparent, revealing the swirling gases of a neutron star far below. Ji-hoon stood at the center of it all, his dark suit looking simple and plain compared to the elaborate armor and robes of the beings. Seated in a semicircle before him, he had practiced his speech for weeks. Every word had been chosen carefully, reviewed by Earth's best diplomats and politicians. Beside him stood Minji, her tablet clutched tightly in both hands, and Do-yun, who kept his military posture perfect despite the weight of 100 alien eyes upon them. The Council of 12 sat on platforms that floated at different heights, arranged by species importance and power. At the highest point sat Velonis, the speaker. His kind, the Talarians, resembled tall bipeds with blue skin that shimmered like oil on water. 4 arms crossed over his chest, and his 3 eyes watched the humans with something that looked like amusement. "Honored Council," Ji-hoon began, his voice steady. "Humanity comes before you after 50 years of probationary membership. We have fulfilled every requirement. We have colonized 17 systems successfully. We have contributed to galactic trade. We have shared our medical advances freely. We have committed no violations of Council law. We now formally request full membership status." Minji activated the holographic display. Images flooded the space between the humans and the Council. Cities on terraformed worlds. Hospitals treating diseases that had killed billions across the galaxy. Trade ships moving between human and alien ports. Schools where human children learned alongside young beings from a dozen other species. "Our population has reached 42 billion across all our worlds," Ji-hoon continued. "We have maintained peace with our neighbors. We have developed new agricultural techniques that have increased food production by 300% on marginal worlds. We have," a sound interrupted him. It was laughter. Deep, rolling laughter that echoed through the crystal chamber. Velonis was laughing, his large frame shaking with mirth. Within seconds, other council members joined in. The Krillian representative, a being made of what looked like living stone, produced sounds like grinding rocks. The Pesseran delegate, who floated in a tank of purple liquid, created bubbling noises that their translator rendered as chuckles. Ji-hoon stopped speaking. His jaw tightened, but his face remained calm. Minji's hand trembled slightly as she lowered the tablet. Do-yun's eyes narrowed, scanning the council members one by one, as if memorizing each face. The laughter continued for what felt like hours, but was probably only a minute. Finally, Velonis raised one of his 4 hands, and silence fell across the chamber. "Forgive us," Velonis said, though his tone suggested he was not sorry at all. "But your request is ... amusing. Humanity seeks full membership. Let us examine this claim." He gestured, and new holograms appeared, these created by Council technology far superior to anything the humans possessed. Images of humans appeared, rotating slowly in the air. Biological readouts scrolled beside them. "Your species has an average lifespan of 80 years, Velonis said. The shortest of any council member by a factor of 3. You lack any psionic abilities whatsoever. Your physical strength is below average. Your reaction time is slow. Your technology, while adequate, is primitive compared to established civilizations. Your FTL drives are so inefficient that crossing the galaxy takes you 6 months. We can do it in 4 days." The Krillian representative spoke, his words rumbling through the translation system. "They cannot even survive in standard galactic atmospheres without assistance. They require specific temperature ranges, specific gases, specific pressure levels. They are fragile. Their neural architecture is basic," added the Pesseran. "Single consciousness, linear thinking, emotional responses that override logic. No hive mind capability. No quantum processing. They are, by any objective measure, intellectually inferior. Ji-hoon felt heat rising in his chest. Beside him, Minji had gone very pale. Dayan's hand moved almost imperceptibly toward where his sidearm would be if weapons were allowed in the council chamber. But Ji-hoon remained still, listening. Velonis leaned forward on his floating platform. Humanity has shown adequate development for a young species. We acknowledge your efforts. Therefore, we offer a compromise. You may remain in council space as a client species under the protection of the established powers. You will provide resources and labor. In exchange, you will receive guidance, protection, and the wisdom of your superiors. A protectorate status, the Krillian clarified. It is generous. More than species like yours typically receive. Your colonies will continue to operate under council oversight, Velonis continued. Your trade will be managed by experienced species who understand galactic commerce. Your military will be unnecessary. We will defend you. Your role will be to serve the greater galactic community in the ways you are capable of serving. The other council members murmured their agreement. Some made what were probably meant to be encouraging gestures. The being in the purple liquid tank bubbled happily. We do this out of kindness, Velonis said. You clearly do not understand your limitations. We do. Accept your place, humans. There is no shame in being what you are. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Ji-hoon, waiting for his response. Waiting for him to argue, to plead, to present more evidence of human worth. Minji looked at him, her eyes asking what they should do. Doyan stood ready to follow whatever order came. Ji-hoon took a slow breath. His hands, which had been trembling with barely controlled rage, became steady. His face, which had been tight with tension, relaxed into an expression of perfect calm. He looked at Velonis, then at each council member in turn, meeting their eyes without fear or anger. Thank you, Ji-hoon said quietly, for your clarity. He turned to Minji and Doyan. Pack up. We're leaving. Minji blinked in confusion. Sir, the negotiations. There are no negotiations, Ji-hoon said. There never were. Pack up. He turned back to the council, gave a slight bow that was more formal courtesy than respect, and began walking toward the chamber exit. Minji hurriedly gathered the human equipment, while Doyan followed immediately, his military training making him respond instantly to orders. Ambassador, Velonis called out. You have not responded to our offer. Ji-hoon stopped, but did not turn around. Your offer is understood, Speaker Velonis, as is your opinion of my species. You have made both very clear. We have nothing more to discuss. You would reject council generosity? The Krillian sounded genuinely confused. We reject nothing, Ji-hoon said. We are simply done here. He continued walking. Minji caught up to him, her face showing confusion and worry. What are we doing? She whispered urgently. We can't just leave. We need them. We need council trade, council protection. Council, we need nothing from beings who see us as servants, Ji-hoon said softly. Nothing at all. Behind them, the council members exchanged glances. Some laughed again, assuming this was a theatrical exit, a bargaining tactic. Velonis waved one hand dismissively. They will return within a month, he predicted, begging for the terms we offered today. Pride is expensive. They will learn. But as the doors of the grand chamber closed behind the human delegation, something in the air felt different, final, like a door closing that would not open again. The three humans walked down the long corridor in silence. Around them, other species moved through the station, conducting their business, living their lives. None paid any attention to the small group of humans leaving the most important political chamber in the galaxy. Only when they were alone in their ship, doors sealed, did Minji finally speak. "What happens now?" Ji-hoon sat in the captain's chair and stared at the view screen, at the stars beyond the station. "Now we go home," he said, "and we never come back." The message arrived at the council headquarters 3 days after the human delegation departed. Vilonis read it with mild interest, expecting an apology or perhaps a request for reconsideration. Instead, he found a simple notification. Ambassador Ji-hoon thanked the council for their time and informed them that humanity was withdrawing from all council-affiliated activities. No explanation, no emotion, just facts. Vilonis laughed and deleted the message. Around him, other council members discussed the human tantrum with amusement. The Krillian representative bet that humans would return within 2 weeks. The Pesseran suggested 1 month. They all agreed it would be soon. No species could survive alone in the modern galaxy. But on Earth, in the halls of government where decisions shaped the future of billions, the mood was not defeated. It was angry. Ji-hoon stood before Chancellor Hai-jin and the assembled representatives of humanity's 17 colonized systems. His report was simple and devastating. "They will never see us as equals," Ji-hoon said. "They see us as labor, as resources to exploit, as children who need guidance from our betters. They laugh at our achievements and mock our biology. We spent 50 years trying to earn their respect. It cannot be earned because they will never give it." Chancellor Hai-jin was a woman in her 60s, her hair silver, her face lined with decades of difficult decisions. She had led humanity's expansion into space. She had believed in the Council, in cooperation between species, in a united galactic future. Now she sat in silence, processing the complete failure of that dream. "What do you propose?" she asked finally. "We walk away," Ji-hoon said. "Completely. No trade. No communication. No presence in council space. We close our borders. We focus on ourselves. We stop trying to be what they want us to be and become what we choose to be." The room erupted in argument. Some representatives agreed immediately, their anger matching Ji-hoon's. Others worried about the economic consequences. Humanity's colonies produced rare minerals that council species depended on. Human medical technology was some of the best in the galaxy, even if the council refused to acknowledge it. Human ships carried goods between council worlds. Walking away meant abandoning lucrative contracts and important relationships. "We will be isolated," one representative argued, "cut off from galactic society. Our economy will suffer. Our people will suffer." "Our people suffer now," Minji said, standing beside Ji-hoon. "Every human who works in council space faces discrimination. Our merchants are cheated. Our scientists are ignored. Our soldiers are treated as jokes. We are tolerated, not respected. Is that the future we want?" The debate continued for hours. Finally, Chancellor Hai-jin called for silence. She looked tired, older than her years, but her voice was steady. "Ambassador Ji-hoon is correct," she said. "We have begged for scraps from their table long enough. Humanity will withdraw from council space. All of it. Every colony, every ship, every citizen. We will close our borders and focus on our own development. If the council wants our resources, our technology, or our cooperation in the future, they will negotiate with us as equals. Or they will not negotiate at all." The vote was not unanimous, but it passed. Within days, messages went out to every human colony, every ship, every outpost. "Come home." The recall was absolute. Ambassador Soman, stationed at the Council's main trade hub, delivered the final notifications personally. She visited each species embassy, each trading house, each diplomatic office. Her message was polite but clear. All human trade agreements were terminated. All joint ventures were dissolved. All diplomatic missions were closed. Thank you for your time. Goodbye. The council species reacted with confusion more than concern. They assumed this was a negotiating tactic, a way to pressure them into better terms. Velonis sent mocking messages to human space, offering generous terms for humanity's inevitable return. He promised that the council would forgive their rudeness if they apologized quickly. The messages went unanswered. Human ships withdrew from council space in an orderly stream. Merchants packed their goods and departed. Scientists closed their laboratories and returned home. Diplomats sealed their embassies and left. Within 2 months, not a single human remained in council territory. The economic impact hit faster than anyone expected. 3 council species depended on human-mined minerals for their manufacturing. 2 more relied on human medical technology for treating common diseases. Trade routes that human ships had serviced became suddenly unstable. Prices rose. Supply chains broke. The council scrambled to find alternatives. It's temporary, Velonis assured the other members. They cannot survive without us. Give them time to realize their mistake. But in human space, something different was happening. Chancellor Haijin announced the Sovereign Humanity Initiative. Every resource that had been spent trying to impress the council, trying to meet their standards, trying to gain their approval, was redirected inward. Scientists who had worked on projects the council approved of were freed to pursue whatever interested them. Engineers who had built according to council specifications were told to innovate. Soldiers who had trained to fit council, military doctrine, were given permission to develop their own strategies. Taijin, the chief scientist, was given a budget that made his head spin. For 50 years, he had submitted research proposals to council oversight committees. They had approved safe, conventional projects and rejected anything too radical. Now, sitting in Chancellor Haijin's office, he was told there were no restrictions. None. Pursue whatever you believe will benefit humanity, Haijin said. No council regulations. No council oversight. No council approval needed. Show me what human science can do when it's not trying to impress aliens. Taijin left that meeting with his mind racing. Within weeks, he had assembled teams to work on projects that the council had explicitly forbidden. Quantum entanglement communication, neural enhancement technology, dimensional physics, genetic optimization, things the council considered too dangerous, too unpredictable, too likely to disrupt the established order. Admiral Yuna received similar instructions for the military. For decades, human military doctrine had been designed to integrate with council forces. Human ships were built to council specifications. Human weapons followed council standards. Now she was told to forget all of that. Build what works for humans. Develop strategies that use human strengths. Stop trying to fight like Talarians or Krillians. Fight like humans. The transformation began slowly, then accelerated. Human colonies that had exported raw materials to council worlds now processed those materials themselves, developing new manufacturing techniques without worrying about council patents or regulations. Human medical researchers who had shared every breakthrough with council overseers now kept their discoveries private, building on them without outside interference. Human shipyards that had built according to council designs started experimenting with radical new concepts. 6 months after the withdrawal, Velonis sent another message. This one was less mocking, more concerned. Council intelligence reported that human colonies had not collapsed. Their economy was stable. Their ships no longer appeared in council space, but they were certainly going somewhere. He offered to reopen negotiations, suggesting that perhaps full membership could be discussed after a reasonable probationary period. Maybe another 20 years. The message was deleted without a response. 1 year after the withdrawal, the council began to worry seriously. The species that depended on human resources had found alternatives, but they were expensive and inferior. Pirates who had avoided human space because human. Merchant ships were well-armed and aggressive about defending themselves now operated freely in what had been human territory. But when Council security ships tried to patrol those regions, they encountered automated defense platforms that appeared from nowhere, delivered harsh warnings about violating human borders, and disappeared again. "They're serious," the Krillian representative said at a council meeting. "They're actually staying isolated." "Impossible," Alonis insisted. "No species can thrive alone. They're bluffing. They'll return." But they didn't return. 2 years passed, then 5, then 10. Human space remained closed. Automated systems guarded their borders. Any ship that approached received warnings in multiple languages. Any ship that ignored those warnings was destroyed with efficiency that shocked Council military analysts. Where had humans gotten weapons that powerful? On Earth and the 17 human colonies, people barely thought about the Council anymore. They were too busy building, learning, growing, becoming something new. Chancellor Haijin, now in her 70s, but healthier than she had been in her 60s, thanks to new medical treatments, sat in her office and read reports from across human space. Agricultural output was up. Education levels were rising. Life expectancy was increasing. Technology advanced in leaps rather than steps. Crime was down. Quality of life was up. "They thought we needed them," she said to Ji-hoon, who had become her most trusted advisor. "They were wrong. They still think we'll come back," Ji-hoon replied. "Let them think it," Haijin said. "We have work to do." 20 years had passed since humanity walked away from the council chamber. In council space, life continued much as it always had. New species were admitted to probationary membership. Trade routes shifted. Political alliances formed and dissolved. The council barely mentioned humans anymore, except as a cautionary tale told to proud young species who thought they deserved more than they had earned. Alonis, still serving as speaker despite his advancing age, occasionally wondered what had happened to the humans. Council intelligence reported that their borders remained sealed. Automated defense systems still guarded their space. But beyond that, nothing. No communication. No trade. No diplomatic contact. It was as if humanity had simply vanished from galactic affairs. "They probably destroyed themselves," the Krillian representative suggested at one meeting. "Isolation often leads to internal conflict, war, collapse. It's sad, but predictable." The council agreed this was likely. Some species simply could not handle the responsibilities of civilization. Humanity had proven too proud, too stubborn, and too foolish to accept the guidance they needed. The galaxy was better off without them causing problems. But inside human space, behind the automated defenses and closed borders, everything had changed. Tae-jin stood in his laboratory, now 73 years old, but looking barely 50. The age reduction therapies his team had developed were miraculous, repairing cellular damage, extending telomeres, and optimizing genetic expression. Humans were living longer, healthier lives. The first generation of children, born with optimized genetics, were now teenagers, showing enhanced cognitive abilities and perfect health. Nothing that violated ethics or created designer babies, but careful removal of genetic diseases and enhancement of natural human potential. But that was just the beginning. The real breakthroughs were in physics and engineering. "Show me the test results again," Tae-jin said to his assistant, a young woman named Yoonji, who had been born after the withdrawal and had never seen an alien in person. Yoonji pulled up the data. "The dimensional fold drive works perfectly. We can move a ship from one point to another without traveling through normal space. No FTL calculations. No time spent in transit. You enter the fold here, exit there. Instantaneous. Taijin studied the numbers, looking for errors. He found none. What his team had accomplished would have seemed impossible 20 years ago. The Council's own scientists had declared dimensional fold technology theoretically possible, but practically unachievable. They were wrong. The breakthrough had come from pursuing what the Council had forbidden. By studying quantum mechanics without Council restrictions, by experimenting with dimensional physics without oversight, by taking risks that the careful, conservative Council would never allow, human scientists had achieved the impossible. "How large can we make it?" Taijin asked. "We've successfully folded ships up to destroyer class," Yunji replied. "The energy requirements scale exponentially, but with the new fusion cores, we think we can fold a battleship, maybe even a carrier." "And the quantum communication network?" "Fully operational across all 17 systems. Instant communication anywhere. No time lag, no signal degradation," Yunji smiled. "The Council still uses hyperspace relays with hours of delay. We can coordinate fleet movements in real time across the entire sector." Taijin nodded slowly. He had been born before first contact with aliens, had watched humanity struggle for acceptance, had endured decades of Council condescension. Now, looking at what his people had achieved in isolation, he felt something he had not felt in years. Pride. Across the sector, on humanity's most distant colony, Admiral Yuna inspected the new fleet. She was 91 years old and looked 60, still sharp, still commanding. The ships before her bore no resemblance to the clunky, slow vessels humanity had operated during their Council years. These ships were sleek, efficient, and deadly. They used dimensional fold drives, quantum communication, and weapon systems based on principles the Council had never imagined. Particle beams that could disassemble matter at the molecular level. Energy shields that bent space itself. Missiles that existed partially in folded space, making them invisible to conventional sensors. "We could fight the entire Council fleet and win," Captain Sujin said beside her. Sujin was young, trained entirely in the new human military doctrine. She had never served alongside aliens, never learned Council tactics. She thought like a human, fought like a human, and commanded her ship with an aggression that would have shocked Council observers. "Perhaps," Yuna said carefully, "but that's not our goal. We don't want to conquer. We want to be left alone." "Are we ready if they don't leave us alone?" "Yes," Yuna said. "We are very ready." In a small trading post on the edges of civilized space, Baekhyun heard stories that made him laugh. He had left human space before the withdrawal, young and eager to see the galaxy. Now, decades later, he was a successful trader, dealing with dozens of species, moving goods across Council space. He barely thought about his origins anymore, but lately, rumors about human space had been spreading. Wild tales that everyone dismissed as nonsense. Stories of human ships that could appear and disappear instantly. Of humans living for hundreds of years. Of colonies where everyone was healthy, educated, and prosperous. Of technology that made Council science look primitive. "Impossible," Baekhyun told the Talarian merchant who shared these stories. Humans were the weakest species in the Council, fragile, short-lived, technologically backward. These stories are just myths. The Talarian shrugged his four arms. "Probably. But the stories keep coming. And no one has seen inside human space for 20 years. Who knows what's really happening there?" "Nothing," Baekhyun said confidently. "They're probably struggling to survive. Maybe dying out. Isolation kills civilizations." But sometimes, late at night, Baekhyun wondered. He remembered Earth, green and blue and beautiful. He remembered human ambition, human creativity, human stubbornness. What if the stories were true? What if humanity had become something remarkable in their isolation? He dismissed the thought. It was impossible. The council was right about humans. They were inferior. Everyone knew it. On Earth, Chancellor Hygiene sat in her office reviewing reports from across human space. She was 86 years old, looked 60, and felt 40. The medical advances of the past 2 decades had been extraordinary. She expected to live another 50 years at least, possibly much longer, as the technology continued improving. The reports were excellent. Population was growing healthily. No system faced shortages of food, water, or resources. Crime was at historic lows. Education levels were the highest ever recorded. Humans were smarter, healthier, and more capable than ever before in history. "We did it," Ji-hoon said, entering her office. He was 72, looked 50, and served as her chief advisor. "We built something extraordinary." "We did," Hygiene agreed. "And the council still doesn't know. Should we tell them?" Hygiene considered this. For 20 years, humanity had developed in secret, growing stronger without the council noticing or caring. They had proven wrong every prediction, every insult, every dismissal. Part of her wanted to throw open the borders and show the galaxy what humanity had become. But another part, the wiser part, knew better. "Not yet," she said. "Let them keep thinking we're weak. Let them keep assuming we're struggling. Let them forget about us entirely. The longer they remain ignorant, the safer we are. And if they discover the truth, then we deal with it," Hygiene said. "But on our terms, always on our terms." She looked at the star map on her wall, showing human space and the vast galaxy beyond. 17 systems didn't seem like much compared to the council's thousands. But those 17 systems were fully developed, efficiently managed, and technologically advanced beyond anything the council possessed. Humanity was small, but humanity was strong. "They thought they were being kind," Hygiene said softly, "offering us a place as servants, protecting us from ourselves. They truly believed we needed their guidance." "They were wrong," Ji-hoon said. "Yes," Hygiene agreed. "They were completely wrong. And they still don't know it." Outside her window, Earth spun peacefully in space. Orbital platforms gleamed in the sunlight, much larger and more sophisticated than they had been 20 years ago. Ships came and went, moving between Earth and the colonies with ease. Humanity had built a civilization worthy of pride, not because the council approved, but because humans decided to build it. The galaxy thought humanity had failed. The galaxy had no idea that humanity had succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. And for now, Hygiene was content to keep it that way. Let the council tell their stories about the proud humans who isolated themselves and probably died. Let them feel superior. The truth would reveal itself eventually. And when it did, the galaxy would learn something the council should have understood from the beginning. Never underestimate someone just because they're different. Never assume weakness just because you don't understand strength. And never, ever mock someone and expect them to forget. The warning came from the Outer Rim colonies. Long-range sensors detected something massive moving toward council space. Ships, thousands of them, possibly tens of thousands. They moved in perfect coordination, consuming everything in their path. The first colony they hit sent one desperate message before communications cut off. Then silence. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Velonis, now ancient and tired, listened to the reports with growing horror. The invaders were called the Krull Swarm, and they were unlike anything the galaxy had faced before. They were a hive-mind species, each individual organism connected to a central intelligence. They numbered in the billions, perhaps trillions, and they consumed all biological matter they encountered, stripping entire worlds bare. "How much time do we have?" Velonis asked. "They're moving fast," the military commander replied. 2 months until they reached the core systems. Maybe less. The Council mobilized its forces. Fleets from 100 species gathered to face the threat. The Talarian Empire contributed its fast, powerful warships. The Krillians brought their massive battle stations. The Pesserans deployed their advanced weapons platforms. Together, they represented the strongest military force the galaxy had ever assembled. They engaged the Krell at the frontier. The battle was catastrophic. Council forces destroyed thousands of Krell ships, but thousands more replaced them. For every Krell vessel destroyed, 2 appeared. The hive mind coordinated their attacks perfectly, learning from every engagement, adapting to every tactic. And their numbers seemed endless. The Council fleet retreated, having lost a quarter of their forces. They regrouped and engaged again, and lost again, and again. Each battle cost the Council dearly, while the Krell barely seemed to notice their losses. The hive mind kept coming. Unstoppable and relentless. Velonis watched the reports come in from his command center. Colonies fell one after another. Billions died. The military commanders had no solution. The Krell adapted faster than the Council could develop new tactics. Their psionic weapons were useless against the hive mind. Their superior technology couldn't overcome infinite numbers. Their fast ships couldn't outrun an enemy that appeared everywhere simultaneously. "We're losing," he admitted to the other Council members. "We're losing badly. What about the outer species?" Someone suggested, "Call everyone. Every military force. Every ship." They sent the call. Species that had never cooperated before united against the common threat. It wasn't enough. The Krell consumed them all. World after world fell. The death toll reached into the trillions. The Council began discussing evacuation plans, abandoning the core systems, fleeing to the galactic rim, and hoping the Krell wouldn't follow Dot. It was the Krillian representative who spoke the words no one wanted to hear. What about the humans? The chamber fell silent. Velonis felt his heart sink. Humanity, the species they had mocked, dismissed, and forgotten. The species that had walked away 20 years ago and never returned. "We don't even know if they still exist," someone said. "They could be extinct." "We have to try," the Krillian insisted. "We have no other options." The debate was brief. Pride didn't matter when extinction was the alternative. Velonis authorized the transmission himself, recording the message personally. It took him several attempts to get the words right. How do you ask for help from someone you insulted? How do you beg for mercy from someone you treated as inferior? Finally, he recorded a simple message. He explained the situation, admitted the Council was losing, said that billions were dying, and asked, without demanding or expecting, if humanity would help. He offered full Council membership, economic concessions, technology sharing, anything. He sent the message to the coordinates where human space had been, and waited. Days passed with no response. The Krell advanced. More systems fell. Velonis began to believe the humans were truly gone, dead in their isolation, just as the Council had predicted. Then, 3 weeks after his message, a response came. It was audio only, a woman's voice speaking clear galactic standard. Chancellor Haijin. She was still alive. "Speaker Velonis, we received your message. Humanity is discussing how to respond. We will contact you within 1 week." That was all. No promises. No commitments. Just confirmation that they were considering it. Velonis didn't know if he should feel hope or despair. On Earth, in the Grand Assembly Hall, where representatives from all 17 systems gathered, the debate was intense. Ji-hoon stood at the center, his voice passionate and angry. "We owe them nothing," he said. "They mocked us, called us weak, called us inferior. offered to make us servants. Now, when they're dying, they come begging for help? Let them face the consequences of their arrogance. Many representatives agreed. Why should humanity risk its people, its ships, its hard-won peace to save beings who had treated them with contempt? Let the council fall. Let them learn humility the hard way. But others disagreed. Minji, now a senior council member herself, spoke carefully. The beings dying aren't all council members. Most are civilians who never insulted us. Children, families, innocent people. Can we let them die just because their leaders were fools? It's not our responsibility, someone argued. No, Hygiene agreed. It's not. But we became better than we were. We built something remarkable. Part of that was becoming better people. Are we really willing to let trillions die because we're angry at the council? Taijin, the chief scientist, offered a practical perspective. If the Krell consume the council, they'll eventually reach our borders. Better to fight them now with allies than alone later. The debate continued for days. Finally, a vote was called. It was close, but the decision passed. Humanity would help, but not out of obligation. Not out of gratitude for council membership offers. Not out of fear. They would help because it was the right thing to do. And they would do it on their own terms. Hygiene recorded the response herself. Speaker Velonis. Humanity will render assistance. But understand this clearly. We are not returning to the council. We are not seeking your approval. We are not asking for membership or rewards. We help because innocent beings are dying, not because we owe you anything. Our terms are simple. We command our forces. We use our strategies. You cooperate, or we leave. Do you accept? She sent the message and waited. The response came within hours. Velonis accepted every term. He had no choice. The Krell were days away from the Council's core worlds. Pride was a luxury he could no longer afford. Humanity will help us, he announced to the Council. They're coming. Will they arrive in time? Someone asked. I don't know, Velonis admitted. I don't know anything about them anymore. I don't know if they're strong enough. I don't know if they have the technology. I don't know if they can make a difference. He paused, remembering 20 years ago, remembering the quiet dignity in Ji-hoon's face as he walked out of the council chamber. But I know we insulted them, dismissed them, and treated them as lesser beings. And despite that, they're coming to save us. Perhaps we were wrong about them, the Krillian said quietly. Perhaps Velonis agreed. We're about to find out just how wrong. The council waited. The Krell advanced. And somewhere in the darkness of space, humanity prepared to return to a galaxy that had tried very hard to forget them. But this time, they would not return as supplicants. They would not come seeking approval or acceptance. They would arrive as saviors, and the galaxy would finally understand what it had lost when it chose mockery over respect. The humans were coming. And the Council, which had spent 20 years believing humanity was weak and dying, was about to learn the truth. Not all strength looks the same. Not all power announces itself. And the species they had dismissed as inferior had spent 2 decades becoming something the galaxy had never seen before, something extraordinary, something powerful, something that would change everything. They appeared without warning. One moment, the Council's defensive perimeter showed empty space. The next moment, 300 human ships materialized simultaneously at precise coordinates across the battle line. No FTL signatures. No approach trajectories. They simply appeared as if they had always been there. Velonis stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The ships looked nothing like the clunky human vessels he remembered from 20 years ago. These were sleek, efficient, and massive. The smallest destroyer was twice the size of Council frigates. The battleships dwarfed anything the Talarian Empire had ever built. And they moved with precision that suggested computer coordination far beyond anything Council technology could achieve. "This is Fleet Marshal Una of the Human Defense Force." A voice spoke over the communication channel. "We are assuming command of defensive operations. All Council forces will coordinate through our command structure. Acknowledge." The Council military commanders hesitated. Take orders from humans? From the species they had called weak and primitive? But Velonis gave the order himself. Acknowledge and comply. They are in command. Admiral Una stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at the tactical display. She was 91 years old and felt more alive than she had in decades. Behind her stood Captain Sujin and a dozen other officers, all trained in the new human military doctrine, all eager to prove what humanity had become. "Krell fleet approaching," Sujin reported. "Estimate 20,000 vessels. They're adapting their formation based on previous Council encounters. They're learning from the wrong lessons," Una said. "They've never fought humans before. All ships, dimensional fold on my mark. Pattern Delta." The human fleet vanished. For 3 seconds, the Krell sensors showed empty space. Then the human ships reappeared, not where they had been, but scattered throughout the Krell formation. They materialized inside the enemy fleet, weapons already firing. The Krell reacted, but too slowly. Human particle beams disassembled their ships at the molecular level. Human missiles, existing partially in folded space, bypassed shields the Krell thought were impenetrable. Energy weapons that bent space itself created fields where Krell vessels simply stopped existing. Within minutes, thousands of Krell ships were destroyed or disabled. The hive mind adapted quickly, redirecting forces to surround human vessels. But the humans folded space again, disappearing and reappearing behind the Krell lines. The battle became a dance, with human ships appearing, striking and vanishing before the Krell could respond. The Council forces watched in stunned silence. "How are they doing this?" a Talarian commander demanded. "Dimensional fold technology," his science officer replied, reviewing sensor data. "They're not moving through space. They're moving through folded dimensions. It's theoretically impossible." "Tell them that," the commander said, watching another wave of Krell ships vanish under human fire. The battle continued for 6 hours. The Krell, accustomed to overwhelming opponents with numbers, found themselves unable to land effective hits on an enemy that refused to stay in one place. Every time they adapted to human tactics, the humans changed strategy. Every time they tried to surround a human ship, it simply disappeared and attacked from a new angle. Their hive mind, which had proven superior to Council coordination, met something better. Quantum entangled communication meant every human ship received and processed data simultaneously, acting as one organism, but with independent creativity the hive mind lacked. When the Krell fleet finally retreated, they had lost over 15,000 vessels. The humans had lost 3 ships. 3. The victory was so complete, so overwhelming, that the Council observers struggled to process what they had witnessed. "Impossible," Velonis whispered. Those were the same humans? The weak species? The primitive technology? But there was no time to marvel. The Krell were regrouping, and more waves were coming. Una coordinated with Council forces, integrating their ships into human strategies. The Talarians, with their fast vessels, became scouts and quick-strike forces. The Krillians, with their massive battle stations, became mobile fortresses that human ships could fold around. The Pesserins, with their weapon platforms, provided long-range support. For the first time, Council forces operated at maximum efficiency, coordinated by human commanders who saw how to use each species' strengths instead of forcing everyone to fight the same way. The difference was staggering. On the 3rd day of combat, Taijin arrived with the science fleet. While the military held the line, his ships moved through the battlefield collecting data. Krell specimens, ship fragments, communication signals, everything they could gather about how the hive mind worked. "It's fascinating," Taijin told Yuna over the secure quantum link. "The hive mind operates on a specific frequency range. Every Krell organism is connected through quantum-entangled particles in their neural structures. If we can disrupt that frequency—" "Can you do it?" Yuna asked. "Give me 48 hours. Yuna gave him 60, just to be safe. During that time, human and council forces fought the largest space battle in galactic history. Millions of ships engaged across hundreds of systems. The Krell kept coming, kept adapting, kept learning. But so did the humans. Every engagement provided new data. Every tactic led to improvements. Captain Sujin, commanding a frigate, developed a new strike pattern that increased kill efficiency by 30%. It was transmitted to the fleet and implemented within minutes. The council commanders watched and learned. They had spent centuries developing military doctrine, building on tradition and established wisdom. The humans threw all that away, creating new strategies in real time based on what worked. It was chaotic, unconventional, and brutally effective. "They fight like they have nothing to lose," a Krillian observer noted. "No," his human liaison corrected. "They fight like they have everything to protect." On the 6th day, Taijin completed his work. The quantum disruptor was ready. It was a weapon unlike anything the Council had ever conceived, designed to target the specific frequency that connected the Krell hive mind. If it worked, the hive mind would shatter, leaving billions of individual organisms confused and lost. If it didn't work, they had wasted resources and time they couldn't afford. "Deploy it," Yuna ordered. Human ships spread across Krell space, each carrying a quantum disruptor. They activated simultaneously, creating a cascading wave of interference that spread through the quantum connections binding the hive mind together. For a moment, nothing happened. The Krell kept fighting, kept coordinating, kept advancing. Then the connection broke. Across 1,000 systems, the Krell fleet simply stopped. Ships drifted. Coordination vanished. The perfect unity that had made them unstoppable dissolved into chaos. Individual Krell organisms, suddenly alone in their own minds for the first time in their existence, panicked. They fled in every direction, abandoning the invasion, abandoning their ships, fleeing into deep space. The war ended not with a final battle, but with the enemy simply running away. It took weeks to confirm, but eventually the truth was clear. The Krell swarm was defeated, scattered, broken. The galaxy was saved. The celebration across council space was immense. Trillions of beings who had faced extinction now had a future, and they all knew who had saved them. Not the mighty Talarian Empire, not the ancient Krillian civilization, not the advanced Pesseran technology. Humanity, the species the Council had dismissed as weak and primitive, had saved them all. Vilonis requested a meeting with Chancellor Haijin. It took place via quantum communication, with Haijin appearing as a hologram in the council chamber. She looked younger than Vilonis remembered, healthier, more vibrant. She looked like someone who had spent 20 years building something wonderful. "Chancellor Haijin," Vilonis began, and his voice cracked slightly. "The Council wishes to express its gratitude. You saved us, all of us. We would like to offer humanity a seat on the Council, not as a probationary member, not as a client species, as a full member with voting rights and equal status. We would be honored to—" "No," Haijin said simply. The chamber fell silent. Vilonis blinked in confusion. "I'm sorry? We decline council membership," Haijin said. "We are not interested in joining your organization. But we saved you a seat, full membership, everything you wanted. Everything we wanted 20 years ago, Hygiene corrected. We don't want it anymore. We don't need it. We are perfectly content as an independent civilization. Then what do you want? Velonis asked desperately. What can we offer you? Respect, Hygiene said. Treat us as equals. Trade with us fairly. Communicate with us honestly. We will do the same. We will establish embassies. We will engage in commerce. We will cooperate on projects of mutual interest. But we will not join the Council. We will not subordinate ourselves to your authority. We will not seek your approval for our actions. She paused, letting her words sink in. We are independent. We will remain independent. If that's acceptable, we can build a productive relationship. If not, we will return to our borders and leave you to govern yourselves. The council members looked at each other. They had expected gratitude, maybe demands for concessions or rewards. Instead, the humans simply wanted to be left alone, to be treated as equals rather than children needing guidance. That is acceptable, Velonis said quietly. More than acceptable. We would be honored to establish relations on those terms. Good, Hygiene said. Ambassador Minji will arrive within the week to begin setting up our embassy. She speaks for humanity. Treat her with the respect she deserves. The hologram ended. Hygiene was gone. The council sat in silence, processing what had happened. The humans had saved them, refused membership, and dictated terms. And somehow it felt entirely appropriate. We were fools, the Krillian representative said finally. Yes, Velonis agreed. We were complete fools. Years later, Minji stood in the council chambers as the human ambassador. Not a supplicant, not a probationary member. An ambassador from an independent power that the council treated with respect, and if she was honest, a bit of fear. Humanity had proven itself stronger than anyone imagined. Their technology was decades ahead of council standards. Their military was the most effective in the galaxy. Their economy was booming. Their people were thriving. She received a private message one day. It was from Velonis, who was dying, his ancient body finally giving out. The message was simple. I'm sorry. We were wrong about your people. Please forgive an old fool. Minji read it several times. She thought about responding with anger, reminding him of the insults, the mockery, the dismissal. But that was 20 years ago. Humanity had moved past it. They had proven themselves not through words, but through actions. She sent a reply. We forgive you. We don't need you to forgive us. We never did anything wrong. Then she deleted his contact information and returned to work. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had learned theirs. Respect was not given by permission. It was earned through achievement and demanded through strength. And humanity had both.